So film is about human beings.
Absolutely, always. Always. And
Even
in
though
sci-fi.
science fiction.
Even in sci-fi. I mean, sci-fi.
Oh, the best sci-fi has to be.
Dude, if it's not sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's just camp.
Yeah, right. Or pulp. Or
Pulp. Yeah.
Pulp, yeah.
But yeah, like the Alien to me is just the pinnacle of great sci-fi because I understood those characters and Ripley is just a character that I empathize with her, and she's not a superhero from the beginning.
No, not
she's
at all.
desperate to live.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. She's
And
clinging.
she's just a minor.
right.
Like
Not
they
a
were just
Marine.
minors, and they get
Yeah.
woken up. Hey, go investigate this thing, or you're not getting your bonus. And they're like, oh, come on, and they go, and they all died. Like,
That's crazy. It's,
It
but
is
it's, I mean,
crazy.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
and she's the
Right.
one that's telling all the guys, the protocol is we don't let him back in with that thing on his face. That's fine. He'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Exactly. Human folly.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Science fiction is a funny thing. It's like the science is fun because scientists are creative in thinking to the border of what they don't know,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
then they have to experiment,
Yeah.
and then something comes out of that experimentation, and that's a beautiful concept. But to explain that in a very scientific way is so hard
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because the
So
average
everyone can
person has
understand
no
it.
knowledge of these things. So it's almost like they're speaking like some weird other language.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, sci-fi is like a nice way in through humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sci-fi is just a space to let us know where do we fit in that world of science.
Sci-fi,
What's our
yeah.
place?
And sci-fi helps people to understand science.
That's
Yeah.
the beauty of it, man.
You have like people like Dawkins who was talking about there's a thing called a black hole.
Right.
Possibly, right? Like this thing exists and we're like, what? A black hole? Like this
Like, what is that?
gravity, like this dense mass in the middle of
Right,
the universe
right,
that can't possibly exist. But then when you watch movies like Interstellar and things, now black holes exist in everyone's vocabulary. You know, you say black hole to a kid, oh yeah, that's just like a black thing that pulls things in. It's like, wow, this kid
I love that.
understands science, you know, like
Yeah.
things that takes, you know, I don't know, like it took calculus and
And
to
love.
understand it. But yeah,
Love is like that black hole.
Yes,
It pulls things in.
Well, it's like how scientists figure out things through just observation, like you were saying. When they look out to space and they look at the things that they can see and they realize they're not behaving like they should. Why are they moving that way?
Right.
Well, there must be something that's got tremendous gravity tugging on them.
Right.
Well, what could that be? I don't know. A hole in space.
Right, right.
Like,
Okay, a hole.
maybe that's it.
A
And
hole
they
in
start
space.
going down that road and find out that they're right. The same thing with Hubble. You know,
Right.
when he realized 100 years ago that there was redshift on the lights going away, and,
Oh,
and he
that's-
realized that it was all expanding. But
that's
he's
right.
like, why are they
Why is it
leaning
going?
into the red?
Yeah.
Why is that happening? Well, that must mean that they're moving away from us.
Right. Right.
And
correct.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Right.
So science, like you said, science, like exploring the unknown is like storytelling. right?
Absolutely. All
When
day
the
long.
audience sits in there. We have this new audience that's about to venture off into your unknown story, and then you're helping them get through this, so that by
Yeah.
the end they have an understanding.
Yeah,
They have an
yeah.
understanding of what you're trying to tell them.
And I can tell there is a little bit difference between the West and China's film, science fiction films. You said a man saved the world, and we Chinese say a group saved the world.
Correct.
A
correct.
group of people save the
Yeah, yeah,
world.
yeah.
For example, wandering Earth,
Oh, yeah,
a group
yeah, yeah.
of people save the world, and we carry Earth with us to escape
Right.
to
of
the
course.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
is crazy, the idea. It's insane. It's beautiful to look at, too. It's really
Yeah.
bizarrely fascinating.
Yeah, that's because
Yeah.
we have a huge emotion or say connection with our land because we lived here for 5,000 years. And in terms of the Western films, science fiction films, you escape from the Earth to Mars or the
Avatar.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, but yeah, I think all sci-fi is just a reflection of humanity, and I think every voice in it is important because each of us have a different perception. Like I was saying earlier, like if I'm on one side of something, doesn't it means I'm blinded by the other, and so to understand both sides equally is an interesting and more robust world to live in. And so we need more sci-fi from China and the voices that are from Chinese scientists even to help us understand where is our place in this world. because there is a place for that. And I do mean us. The Isaac Asimov was always thinking in these same terms of the group as a unity. And so, but we've gone a lot further away from that, but for several reasons, but mostly marketing. But
marketing and
like advertising.
And there's like no structure, but
right, you know.
But I do, like I did come to learn that like by living, like I guess both of us, since we live in Asia and we've got to tell stories with other Asian storytellers.
Absolutely.
And, like you said, like Chinese tell stories through like the community, like this group did something, whereas the West, we're very much hero-centric.
Yeah,
so
for
one person did everything,
right?
Like one person saved the world,
Correct.
one person. But I do really appreciate the idea that, because we all realize that one person can't save anything. One person is not going to save the world. Like we do very much so need the group, you know, and the community. And I like how in Asian stories it is that way. Like it's always like the community came together at the very end, you know, to help, you know, or something. Or it is
those are the best stories.
Yeah.
Like in our Western Magnificent Seven, I kept thinking about that. But it's like you needed every guy. In the town, even though they were struggling, it didn't matter. You needed everybody.
You need everyone to do it. It's a very cool way of telling a story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Wandering Earth is a great example of, I mean, especially Wandering Earth 2. There's that scene where, I hate to say, but every time I saw it, I damn near cried. And I saw it twice, and then I saw it a third time at that film festival. So I'm sitting there watching this scene, and I know it's coming. And I'm like, okay, let me analyze this a little bit. Now I can sit back and be the director and blah. But it broke me down again. Every single time. There's a moment where they have to send these guys, they can't detonate the bombs and they need, in order for the Earth to be able to wander, they need to take the moon out so that it can be free before the sun blows up. So I'm thinking like, no way, man, like how are they gonna do that? Then they put all they wanted to create fission inside of the moon to blow it up. But the triggers weren't working, right? So I was like, no, that sucks. So the dudes at the space station were like, man, and it's like an international space station. Everybody's there. Every country has a representative. And it's like, they were like, well, we need someone to manually go on the moon and press those buttons. And it's this giant field of that stuff. And I was like, man, that's crazy. So the young guys are like, I'll go. And then the old dude grabs that guy and he pulls him back. He goes, no. You're young, you stay here. And he walks over, he said, everybody who's 50 years old, stand up. And then each dude that was older, like said, I'll go. All the old dudes stepped forward from every country. That every time makes me want to cry. Like just thinking about what that symbol means. It was just beautiful. But that's the beauty of like really interesting sci-fi about like how as a collective we have to help and understand each other.
And it's interesting, it's collectivism, and in the American film we say individualism. So it's not right or wrong, or high or low, it's just right and right, left and right.
Left and right,
yes.
Polarizing of it.
And every time I watch that part, you just mentioned the stand up things,
It's
I
like,
cry.
man, it's like hard. It's hard to watch it without going, man, that's so awesome and so sad.
Or just change. I'm going to change my age. I'm actually 32. Good luck. Good luck, guys. Thank you for saving us.
Oh man.
Can you understand this contribution from the Western perspective?
Like, I wonder, like, I think we do understand sacrifice very wholly. Like
for sure.
Yeah, and we understand sacrifice for youth and things. Perhaps, I don't know, like, I don't know if we believe in the notion, or like, but obviously I'm like, you know, we're all not a pillar. I can't talk for all of the West, but I don't know if, I think it depends on how you grew up, because there are some cultures that are very much so family oriented, and then you know that's the difference in the U.S. because we have people from all over the world, and so there are some cultures that are wholly family oriented from the beginning. They do everything together as a unit and with their community. But then there are some that are very much so like individualistic, and you know you have to. And I think it is part of our culture where like once you're 18, you go out and discover the world by yourself. You know,
Right, yeah.
like then that's just how it is. You know,
That's
in
true.
America. Like whereas in Asia, it's not like that, right? Like even when you're 18 and stuff, you're still at home. You still live with your parents and things. And
We stick together with our family members.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So I
we
think it
do
makes
make. I was thinking about this. I'm like, do we make nothing but movies about the hero? And we make sports team movies
Oh, yeah, yeah,
often
yeah.
that have that notion.
Sports,
Right.
And then there's World War II movies.
Oh, I was
Band
about
of
to
Brothers
say,
is a
Band of
great
Brothers is
movie
another
about
one.
a
I was
group
just about
of
to
people
mention that.
doing something.
Ah,
You know,
I think
I was thinking Saving Private Ryan.
I
It
think
is
that's a
same thing.
good point you brought up. Like sports is, because if you think about sports, that is the one thing that brings
You need
the,
some group
the West
spirit.
together.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
actually
only
the
sports.
largest revenue maker of all entertainment.
Yeah, like sports brings
ironically.
everyone together.
Yeah.
Right?
So-
Like we all want to sit down and watch something and watch
It's,
soccer, watch
it's a
football,
unit
watch
of guys
basketball.
that have to practice and
And it's,
learn
we do
from
that
each other.
sometimes. It's making like Ted Lasso.
Yeah, Ted Lasso's a
Yeah.
great
It's a series
example
with a
of
bunch of disparate characters that are annoying and a jerk and
But you love 'em all,
self-regretting,
and you need 'em all.
and you have to bring them together and cause them to. So we do it sometimes.
We do sometimes, yeah.
Make
outside
team
of
movies.
outside of sports, though, we're all one person.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah,
one
yeah,
character running through the world.
We're-
Yeah.
I mean,
but-
usually that's just a sign of this focusing story on a person's plight or
Yeah.
a person's dilemma. I mean, and Chinese stories do it very well as well. Like the older films like Mr. Six was a good example of that, father and son, and it was mainly about the older Beijingers' perception of Beijing changing and becoming more modernized, and then having a son and having to deal with that modernization, like the old versus the new Beijing. And even though he's not saying I hate that, but he's also saying that there's a collective here, man. And then he had to go and get his buddies to help him try to solve that problem. But it was still his story. It was still very focused through him. And then there's also like The Missing Gun. I love that movie, The Missing Gun. Like that police officer in a small rural area loses his gun after a drunken night and doesn't know what to do about who took the gun. So it's a really fascinating detective story about finding like, I need to get my gun or I'm literally going to be fired and in
Fired
trouble.
the next
day.
But it was awesome because it showed you, it gave you the collective, but literally from this guy's plight and how he felt and what he felt he was losing. And I thought that was really fascinating. But we all do it. It's just like the way we approach it, and especially how we market it. It's usually because of those things.
Yeah.
Now, all those movies that we mentioned before, even the Pixar films, I mean, literally Marlin doesn't find Nemo. He finds himself.
Yeah.
He has to learn to change. And it took the village, which was all the fish in the ocean, from the turtle to the sharks to Dory.
Even the people in the fish tank.
Even people in the fish tank,
Oh,
they had to
all the
help.
characters in the fish tank.
So
yeah. They all
without
had to
that
help, yeah.
community, like it doesn't work. That story doesn't work. So, but it's just the way you tell those stories. But again, marketing doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Their focus
Let's
is like,
put it on the poster.
yeah, exactly. No,
It's
we
just
want that
Nemo.
one.
It's just Nemo.
We want that one person up there.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
typically how it's done.
Yeah.
Because I watched Wandering Earth 5th or 6th, I can't remember correctly. I just wanted them to make profit because I think it's important for the film producers to make profit for the especially for Chinese science fiction movies because we're baby at the
Yeah.
moment. So
No,
when
it's
I watch the
important.
film, I just say, make money, please.
Yeah.
Make money from me.
I
I
mean,
can
it's-
contribute as much as I can. I will try my best. Just make profit and produce more and more better films for us.
'Cause that's the only way to make better films is if people go and watch the films that got made, right? Like,
Yeah, that's
you,
true.
you need
You need
so
people to
you make
watch.
one science fiction film. If no one watches it,
That sucks.
then yeah, even if it's the greatest film ever, but no one
Yeah.
goes and buys the ticket.
Yeah,
right?
it's hard.
So it's really important
Yeah.
for like the science fiction community here in China
Yes.
to support the films that get made.
Right, correct.
Even if you don't like it, but still go watch it. Like,
Right.
go to the theater, buy
Right.
a ticket, bring your
Yeah,
family,
yeah.
I agree.
and watch the movie because
Absolutely.
that will help the new generation of science fiction
Support them.
storytellers. Yeah,
For
it
sure.
supports them because then the industry says, oh, there's an interest here.
Right.
Mm.
And so, yeah.
Right. I mean, it takes a lot of money to make those types at that scale. Like the way they made the effects in that movie was
Yeah.
insanely good.
Tina's paying for it by herself. She's watching it 5-6 times.
That shit, man.
yeah, you can just keep.
You might watch
Yes,
a
I
lot.
also encourage my parents to go to the
Yeah.
cinema to watch the films.
Yeah, that's super important.
Yeah. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. Yeah, and I mean, same in Hollywood. Like it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of responsibility and a lot of integrity goes into that. But like you said, like if no one supports it, you know, it falls on deaf ears.
Yeah,
And it's a little bit sad. But I think it's big enough now, and China's in an interesting spot so far as like how things are being disrupted, like streaming, and we don't watch movies in theaters the same. Now we're watching on our phones, we're watching on tablets, on our laptops now. Like everything is being distributed very different. So I think the beauty of going to the movie is part of the collective. I like going
It's
to a
community,
theater with
watching it
everybody,
with everyone.
and having this experience together.
Yeah.
And every night you go with that different group, it's gonna be different. Like the way you feel.
You all
about
clap
it.
together, you all get happy together, you all cry together.
That's
or you
just
hide
amazing.
I don't cry.
Or you hate the movie
Hide
together.
my
Even you don't like it. Like, we don't like it together.
I don't cry. That was a good moment. That was a good moment.
He cries. I've known this man way too long.
Yeah, and after the film, you have topics to discuss.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
right?
You sit
Yeah.
down around like
Yeah.
a hot pot or something
Yeah,
and
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
you tell us a great story, or you talk
Yeah.
about what you like.
Talk about what you like
yeah, what
or
you
hate
like
it
and
or
hate
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good. It's good fun. It does cause conversation, you know?
Yeah, and in terms of the Chang'an Xiaolan Li, I watched twice or 3 times
Good grief.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah.
awesome.
because the film is 3 hours.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty
Yeah,
long.
yeah, it's pretty long, so
It's pretty long.
time consuming, but worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the pace is good.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like 3 hours.
Boring or something
Yeah,
else.
exactly. It's always moving, so that's all that matters.
So do you produce the Kung Fu Panda? I'm curious of Kung Fu Panda. You first made of that film. Do you have the worry that the Chinese people don't understand the film because it is Westerners? How Westerns interpret the culture?
I do absolutely remember those conversations those conversations happening, that they wanted to make sure to get that right, and they were on us all the time to try and make sure that was right, and they researched everything. So yeah, it was very, very important for them to
Do you
make a
have-
hit that would work over here. They wanted that.
Uh-huh.
They wanted that to be a hit over here.
Do you have Chinese workers in your team?
There are, yeah. I mean, well, it's been many, many years since we made that movie, but there are. We have. DreamWorks was a multicultural place. It had lots of, I would say, 50-50 American and European artists, because
Yeah.
there was an animation studio in Europe, in London, that they shut down, and offered a lot of those artists to come to the States when they were starting DreamWorks. So working at DreamWorks was very interesting because we did have a lot of culturally diverse people, and it was great.
Yeah,
It was-
John Stevenson, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ramen Su, or
Yeah. Well, yeah.
there was a bunch of people.
But
There
he's
was
now
from
he's
all-
now a big
no,
deal director
yeah.
over here, right?
Yeah, now he's here.
Came back here.
Right, yeah. But still, I mean, at the time, like you said, it was like very, I remember that when I was on the Shrek universe.
But this is a really amazing event. This is my first time in China.
Oh.
And so I think that the great thing about this convention is kind of what's happening to me, right? Because I guess the goal of this convention is the experience that I'm having. Because like I haven't watched Wandering Earth or any Chinese science fiction films.
Please
but
do.
yeah, well now that I'm here and like
Right
I
now,
got
I'm curious.
I know, but like so now, like I'm super curious and I want to watch them, and like I'm like wow, like I'm learning about all these different science fiction authors, and we're meeting them, and you know, I've received some of their books and things, and yeah, the stories are amazing, like they're great, and I'm like wow, like this is a really good story, you know, and so yeah, like no, I'm really happy
Is
to
it
just
your
be here.
first time to attend WorldCon?
It
The
is.
Worldcon, yes.
Yeah.
But,
Oh.
yeah. Not my first time in China, though. I've been here for quite some time.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually came here in 2008, I think it was. Like, I made a short film about a Chinese myth about how this mountain became a mountain, Elephant Trunk Hill in Guilin, Guangxi province.
Oh.
And we actually got into the film festivals in the U.S. and I was able to go to God, I forget that festival, and the Writers Film Festival in Texas, Austin.
I don't know that one.
Oh man, it's funny. It's
I
not
just
South by
left Austin,
Southwest,
too,
but it's the
actually.
other one. At any rate, but when I went over there and our film did pretty decent. But I was really proud because it was a really small team of guys, and we were competing against other shorts that had like 50 people working on them. And it was like, man, it was just 8 of us. And but that, you know, Victor, he came and gave a lecture to my guys, my animators, and helped push them to make it happen. We basically took the Elephant Trunk Hill and we designed it backwards. We knew that at the end of our short, it had to become the hill. And so we were taking photos and researching the space and what it felt like. And I had a designer, this lady, Lisa DePaula. She's from DC, the DC area. And she's an equestrian. She's a real cool gal. She designed an elephant that would, if laid down, would make that shape.
Oh, like the
yeah,
hill.
it was sick, man.
Wow.
And I was like, man, that was so awesome that she
Yeah.
did that. But that's when I first came to China, and it opened up my mind to, because that's like one hill. Guilin has thousands of hills.
Yeah,
And there's so many local stories about how that hill was there.
Yeah, we
and
make stories about the
So it's like,
different mountains,
man.
hills.
Oh,
it
really?
was
Yes.
so awesome. So I was like, man, there's so many stories to tell here. It's
Yeah,
unreal.
yeah.
But that's how I got the first, China
Have
bug.
you had communication with the community?
Yesterday
sci-fi
we-
fans.
with
Oh yeah,
sci-fi-
yeah. They were running around high-fiving all the little kids.
Yeah, we talked to the little
They
Oh,
were
did
taking
you?
photos.
Was it the HIA?
Yeah, you're probably on. He's probably on Douyin, like all over the place.
Yeah, we were talking to all the kids from one of the schools.
Time got
there.
mobbed when Alex mentioned Kung Fu Panda. Then everyone came from behind me like,
Yeah.
somebody catch him. I was like, okay,
Kung Fu Panda, Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah.
this is crazy. It was cool though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had to talk to
And she was describing it. She was saying it in Chinese to these families. She's like, "Oh, he works on Kung Fu Panda," but I'm not understanding any of this. Suddenly, there was this roar of approval. I'm like, "What's happening?"
Really?
Yeah, it was awesome. It
And we
was
spoke
awesome.
to like the game developers.
Oh, yeah, the
who are
game
working on
developer.
like science, like sci-fi games and things like that. So we
Yeah.
got to talk with them, and we talked to some of the toy designers who are out here designing some cool like science fiction figures and models. It's really interesting just to see or to get their impression.
And Chinese
like,
community tend to be young, very young.
Yeah, and old. I love China because like China's not afraid of showing old people. Like in America, you rarely see really old people, but here it's like old people everywhere.
yeah,
I just love it, and they're with really young people. It's like a great seeing that balance. It's awesome. Old and young just merging.
yeah.
Like it's cool. It's a great experience in general, and the place is massive.
It's like a spacecraft.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that's what we were.
Those
Excited to see it
drones
from the
and-
top
and-
because
Yeah, that drone show was incredible.
And
I still can't get over it.
we built it within 1 year.
Yeah,
What?
see, that's
I know,
the
I
thing I
heard
think
that.
is crazy about it. Like talk
What?
about sci-fi, man.
Well, when
like,
you
it's
have
like,
1 billion people, I think it's possible.
Yeah, right. We only got a few people. That's
When
fine.
I went to San Francisco, you have a bridge,
Oh,
Golden
yeah, the
Bridge.
Golden Big-
Yeah,
big
you
bridge.
built it for 50 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a-
yeah. It's
I-
50 years.
You're like,
Why?
oh, we can do that in 5. We can do
Yeah,
that in 5 days.
Yeah, you were thinking we could do that.
5 days.
2
What-
days.
What?
2 days. No
Done.
problem.
Gonna get bridge done.
And I went to Spain. There is a Sagrada Familia
Ah.
in
yeah.
downtown. They built it for hundreds of years.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Yes.
Just like in-
Yeah.
This is
The Gaudi design.
Like, I
church.
mean, Gaudi, what's up? 5 days.
5 days. We
Done.
got that.
yeah. Everything is crazy. Like it's so big and like
massive.
Architecture is amazing. Like I'm just like, dude.
The lake is not natural. We made the lake.
Oh really?
Oh, it's
Yes,
a man-made
we made
lake. Wow.
man-made lake.
It's
Wow.
neat. It looks great.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's neat to see the building from this high, to see
Right.
the top of the building. It's a cool building.
It reminds me of like the Star Trek
That's
symbol.
such a
that-
big
that's-
lake. Like where
Just
do
feel
that's
free
crazy.
to take photos.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I brought the camera.
Yeah, before you even asked, like said it was okay, we were just like,
Yeah, yeah.
we just take
He's
a few.
selfieing everything all the time.
Oh yeah, talking about self. I need a selfie. So now we're free. Is this free time?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna take selfie.
Yeah.
And
Here's my selfie here.
does it give you inspiration for producing films?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Like we're meeting a lot of other creatives.
And
I've
just like
already
what
been-
we see is amazing. Like, man,
Yeah.
talk about inspiration. Well, like I'm a world designer, so man, like when I just see like the buildings, the city, like just the interaction of like old and new, concrete and metal, yeah, it's like you just get lots and lots of ideas.
We were walking around downtown the other night, a group of us, and he and I kept hanging back. We're in just an alley, and we're like looking at the trash cans, like, look how cool that looks.
Yeah.
And everybody else was like, come on, guys. We're like, look how cool this looks.
The people who were
True
just
story.
like the workers
True
were just
story.
like, what are they taking a
Yeah,
photo?
the-
I'm
I was
photographing
gonna say, the workers
trash
are like,
cans
yeah.
and doorways
It's
and
like
things like this.
And with a nice camera. Like,
Yeah. We don't want to hold up you guys' time though. I think everybody's like, yo, get out. Like,
yeah, your cameraman's done with this. He's like,
yeah,
all right,
he's
get
like,
off
all right,
stage.
I already cut. He's like, I cut
I don't
like
blame
30
him,
minutes
though. He might
ago.
be right.
Film is cut. This is finished.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time.
It's our pleasure to have you here.